Okay, great. Welcome everyone. Today is November 10th, 2022. This is the biweekly SIG Instrumentation meeting. So we have a couple things on the agenda. First is Yang Jun My FM. Are you here by any chance? I don't see them here. Okay, well, we need a release plan for metric server. It looks like America's not here either, so let's defer this to next week. Okay, Pranshu, you have a couple items. Do you want to?
Yeah, so the first one was, I was just wondering, folks would benefit if KSM has had its own mixins project on top of the metrics we expose, so that, they're able to, first of all, find everything under one roof. And it would, really help them if they want to, down the line, append these particular set of alerts to whatever they're running in their own cluster, or visualize them in a dashboard, and we would kind of provide that to them.
So what do you mean by mixin precisely?
Sorry, one second. Pranshu, hello. Sorry, I joined a little bit late. Your mic is very distorted. I can't understand what you're saying. Could you try adjusting, perhaps? Maybe turn down the gain.
Okay. Is this better?
Yes, that's better.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So mixins is basically a set of alerts and dashboards that projects that are usually working with metrics expose. So, for example, if you have an operator and that operator has some meta metrics, so you'd want to have them in, let's say, have a dashboard for that, so that folks are able to easily visualize that in a Grafana dashboard. And all these metrics, you would have alerts on top of them that would utilize these metrics to alert whenever there's something wrong with the operator. Yeah. So Damien had this comment, and while he was not, I think, very +1 with this, he kind of wanted to, he was on board with the idea of SIG Instrumentation owning the mixins that for all these sub-projects, for the sub-projects that, not all, but some of them.
I just don't agree with Damien's comment. I feel like we can have a KSM mixin, right? I mean, KSM has a KSM mixin would make sense, right?
I don't know, honestly. I think we would need more information. Like, would you be able to give us a short proposal and like share it with the mailing list? Because I don't really understand the specific code that you want to put where and that kind of thing.
I think I understand. I think
because we've been like removing mixins, right? Like there were a bunch in Kubernetes, and we were spinning them out, but we're like I'm not even sure that those were all finished. And I also not sure who is maintaining those in their current state. Like I think they're kind of not really maintained. I mean, I could be wrong, but I was one of the approvers for like spinning some of that stuff out. And I think like we did the initial migration PR, and then they've kind of gone nowhere. And I'm not sure where all of that stuff is at. So I'd like to see how it fits into the wider mixin ecosystem. I'm not saying like yes or no. I don't have enough information.
I mean, my understanding is basically if like KSM has some standard sets of metrics, and they have stable metrics. And specifically, you can create like SLOs from these things. And you would not have to intersperse that with metric data from other sources. I don't see why that would be necessary. I mean, like at most, you could mix them with metric data from, let's say, the Cube API server. But I believe that's basically necessary dependency anyway. So yeah. I mean, I think it makes sense. I think a proposal also makes sense, like a formalized proposal, and then we can discuss it in a subsequent meeting after people have read sort of the general synopsis.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not asking for like a 10-page, like KEP like formal document or anything here.
Like a one-pager.
I don't have a lot of background on like the mix-in project, other than we were removing code out of tree for them and that they are not super well maintained as far as I'm aware. So I don't know if we want to like bring on more. Like if we have like a set of maintainers who are willing to work on them and you're really excited about this, then like, yeah, let us know like what code do you want us to adopt? What is it going to look like? That kind of thing. So
Sure, I can come up with a proposal. Yeah.
awesome. Thank you.
The next topic is also Branshu, which is enabling discussions on the repo. That's already been enabled, by the way. So you can,
Yeah.
not sure how much people will use it. Historically, people don't seem to use GitHub discussions that much, but I guess it's helpful since there's no dedicated Google group for KSM.
Hooray.
Yeah. So the next one is SIG Instrumentation Shadow Program. So yeah, what exactly would you like?
There was an AI on Damien regarding the Google group. Coming up with a Google group for this particular thing. So that's basically what. So basically, all of these points and all of the experience that we have at this moment is based off of what SIG Enhancements has done with this with their own shadow program. And for this, basically, they have they at the end of every shadow program they have this they increase the member list and for the folks who deliver, and then they again roll out new Google Forms and all that stuff, and then they prepare a set of major features that need to go in. So I was thinking maybe we can start talking on that, start iterating on that front and kind of start. So because I saw Catherine and I have been contributing for a while. So maybe if down the line we can become members, then you would have a broader force, and we can have we can get on with this shadow program and start assessing what's next for this.
Yeah. So let's create an actual AI for Damien here.
I think that it's a great idea to get people shadowing and whatnot. One thing that I would caution us a little bit on, we are much smaller and we have less formalized roles within SIG Instrumentation. So like there is a lot of process around how, I think someone said SIG Enhancements. Enhancements is a subproject of SIG architecture. I think you meant SIG Release. SIG Release has the release team. Yeah, and Enhancements is part of it's confusing. I agree. I have had this discussion many times. They have like, a form and selection, and there's a lot of churn, and they get a lot of interest, and they turn a lot of people down, and it's like this big deal thing. And I don't want us to necessarily put a ton of process on the maintainers, because that's not really going to help us grow people within the SIG, because then we'll be spending all of our time dealing with the process as opposed to like actual mentorship. And so if there's a way that we could like get the benefits of having a shadow program, but not necessarily go through the whole thing with like every release we have a form, and then we have to go and select shadows, and then we have to like formally onboard the shadows and blah, blah, blah. Like I know that requires a lot of work on the part of folks in the release team. And I don't want to sign folks in SIG Instrumentation up for that much work, because I don't think that will have necessarily a lot of bang for the buck. So I would rather see like, hey, let's figure out how, like, I agree, let's do this. Would love to see a shadow program. Let's find a way that it can work for us. It doesn't have to look the exact same way as SIG Release.
Also, if you've been contributing to SIG Instrumentation, you should add yourself here if you are already a member of Kubernetes org.
Okay. So I read through the the requirements doc and said that I need 2 sponsors. So I wasn't sure if I should be asking for this
you
at this
should do
moment.
it. Yeah, you have enough contributions. I'm happy to sponsor you.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah,
Thank
yeah.
you.
Just submit a pull in Kubernetes org.
Okay.
Or it's
Yeah.
is this a, are you already a Kubernetes org member?
No,
Because that's the thing that
that's-
requires two
Yeah,
sponsors.
that's what he's talking about.
Okay, yeah, it's not a pull request. It's just an opening an issue, I think.
Opening an issue. Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, I'm also Olivier, and I'm new here, and I'd love to contribute to instrumentation SIG, and I'm already a Kubernetes member, and I'd like to know where I can help. And I already started contributing to kubestate metrics and also to Prometheus adapter. And yes,
Fabulous.
I'd like to know the steps to go further.
Sure.
Yeah. Welcome,
So-
welcome.
Yeah,
Thank you.
well, welcome. So one thing is, this is kind of a weird time to be wanting to contribute, mostly because yesterday was code freeze for Kubernetes, and so we.
Well, that's not a problem for kubestate metrics
It's
or
not-
any of our
it's not a-
sub-projects,
yeah,
because they don't
it's not a
follow the
problem for
same cycle.
sub-projects, But
Um,
it is a problem for the stuff that goes in Kubernetes proper.
Yeah, I would say I don't worry too much about that. You're already involved in places that aren't necessarily subject to those free cycles. I will say that there is absolutely an ebb and flow of contributors throughout the years. If you ever look at some of the dev stats graphs, you can see in sort of as there is like a northern hemisphere winter holiday shutdown, we tend to see a lot lower contributions end of like November and throughout the month of December. But realistically, like, just work on some stuff. I think generally our criteria for sponsoring, many folks in SIG Instrumentation are happy to sponsor new org members, and like the bar is not super high. We want to see you active. We want to see you want to continue to contribute. If you are interested in contributing code, I believe that most of us, like definitely the bar is you must have at least one merged pull request. I like to see a few if I'm going to sponsor someone. They don't have to be huge. They can be really small. Extra small size PRs are totally fine. But you can read more about the process. I think, Han, you had a copy of the contributor ladder open. Maybe we could link that in the minutes and the chat.
Yeah, it's right here.
Yeah, so this explains all of the requirements for community membership, and we're really excited if you're interested in getting involved. I know it can be somewhat, confusing, but just like take a look at the open issues and PRs on projects that you're interested in. Maybe like review some PRs. Maybe go through some issues. Submit a PR for a small thing. Doesn't have to be big. Could be typo fixes. Preferably not like large typo fix PRs in Kubernetes, because those rarely get merged because they're hard to review. But definitely and reach out to the maintainers in the sub projects that you are interested in working in. So if you're interested in kubestate metrics, I think there's like 3 approvers there, including Damien. If you're interested in working on metrics in Kubernetes, there's a bunch of us who review those, and so on and so forth. So hopefully that gives you some pointers of the guidelines are in the doc for what you need to do. We mostly just follow the guidelines within SIG Instrumentation, and then who do you ask for help? Talk to the approvers in the places that you want to contribute. Feel free to reach out to any of us on Slack.
Yeah, also, if you want some dedicated mentorship, feel free to just ping me directly. I'm happy to schedule some time and walk through stuff with anyone who's willing to do it.
Thank you.
Cool. So the next, we have about 10 minutes left. So we have one more thing by Benjamin.
Yes, hi. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so basically at KubeCon, there was a demo about using open tracing to trace kubelets and the Kubernetes runtime. And I'm also working on project research to use kernel tracing to trace kubelets and the Kubernetes runtime. So I thought it would be interesting to basically show a bit about kernel tracing, because it's not really well known, and I feel like it could be very useful.
Yeah, we would love to see it. Hold on, let me make you a co-host and then you can share your screen.
Okay.
For some reason, this is not working.
Okay. Obviously, I'm having issues because I'm using Linux and it doesn't support Wayland on GNOME.
I can't make you a co-host for some reason.
Oh, okay. Maybe I can just share in the chat screenshots.
Yeah, sure. This sucks. Hold on. I don't know what's going on here, but yeah, my make host button is not working.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry about this. Seems like a Zoom thing.
Yeah. C'est la vie. Maybe in the document I can share.
So are you talking about like using eBPF?
No, not eBPF, but LTTNG. It's another kernel tracing, but it has lower latency for tracing, and it's also like it's really eBPF is more like a language to like run program on like certain system calls, while LTTNG is more about like recording the different events and like seeing which event called which. And there's a tool called Trace Compass that allows you to like analyze the kernel trace. And with that, you can actually see the critical path of a process and see which with which other processes communicated. So in the case of the kubelet, you can see the kubelet actually like contacting container D to basically schedule pods. And the work I've been doing lately is really adding user space events in the Kubernetes, in the kubelet source code, in order to like understand what's happening at certain time. So can I post a picture in the doc?
Yeah, post it in the chat. I'm sorry, I can't make you co-host because Zoom is not cooperating with me.
Well, I posted a picture in the Google Doc.
Can you make me host? Maybe I can make him co-host.
If you
Can't
go
make
in,
anyone host. Oh, wait, actually, I just made you host.
Oh,
actually.
cool. So you did. Whoa, I've got all of the power.
So
All of the
now it just started
power.
working.
Okay, 1 second. Let's see. Make co-host. You are now a co-host. Congrats. Okay. I'm gonna make
now
other people co-host.
Oh,
you
yeah,
get a co-host.
I cannot share my screen.
You still can't share your screen?
Because I'm using Linux.
Can Sally share a screen?
But I posted a screenshot on the Google Doc.
Oh, on the Google Doc.
I don't have this demo, Ilana.
Oh, okay.
I see it.
Can you the tool?
Can you just screen share the meeting notes and then you can see the screenshot? That's cool.
Yeah. So basically there's like 3 panels. One on top shows like the control flow between every process in the kernel and user space. Basically every process, how they communicate between each other. And the one at the bottom show the critical path of like the kubelet. And basically we can do an analysis of like where the time was spent and like on which process it was waiting. So I've put some annotation on the basically Gantt chart. And here you can see basically like the zone in purple is me using kubectl to like start the to apply my deployment. Then the blue blue zone is like the pod starting up. And in the middle, there's like a orange spot where you can see the kubelet scheduling, basically starting up container D processes and like contacting them. And you can also like compare these events with like CPU usage and memory usage, disk usage. So in case of like latency issues, you can easily diagnose like the reason why like a certain pod startup was slow, like on which process it was waiting for. You can also see like maybe there was a spike in CPU usage. So like there was too much contention.
We should export this stuff to the tracing framework stuff that David's been working on.
Yeah, so it's all a lot of like interesting information.
Very cool. Did you have to make any changes to the Kubernetes code base to make this work?
Sorry?
Did you have to make any changes to the kubelet to make this work? Or is this entirely outside of Kubernetes?
It's mainly outside of Kubernetes. The only changes I had to make to the Kubernetes source code was like to add the user space events to basically understand when the kubelet received a new pod to add and when the update was done.
Very cool.
But my the old screenshot is based on like kernel trace.
Are you able to share the changes? I'd be curious to look into libraries and stuff that uses.
Yes, I have like a small demo with like a vagrant file and a make file to like basically patch and build Kubernetes.
Interesting.
Yeah, and there's the patch. Basically, what I'm doing is I've created a Go package that make C calls to the user space tracing library for LTTNG.
This is very minimal. We should be able to upstream some of this.
Yeah.
Awesome.
We should look into upstreaming this as a part of the kubelet tracing effort.
And one more question. How does it, like let's say two different pods are started at once. How does it disambiguate, say, whether pulling an image is associated with one or another?
Pulling an image? Well, I mean, the thing.
I'm asking more about correlation. So if two things are happening in parallel, how does it tell like which pod startup, for example, a certain event is associated with?
So like in the user space or in the kernel space?
I guess either one. Like, can it tell if two things are happening at the same time that they are actually two different chains of events?
Yes, it can. It's like meant for debugging parallel programs.
Mm-hmm.
The way I'm doing in user space to associate, basically I'm just like in the trace I'm putting the UID of the pod.
Okay.
So I can like see like when the event was happening for each pod. And then I'm just looking at like the thread ID of the kubelet on which it was running.
And that's how you can tell, for example, which like container D operations are associated with which pods.
Yeah.
Okay. Very cool. And do you know what the format is that this data ends up being produced in?
CTF, common trace format.
Okay.
There's actually been some work done previously at my lab to basically combine kernel traces with open tracing. But they still had to like use system calls to LTTNG UST to basically like sync the information between open tracing and the kernel.
That makes sense.
Yep. Just a small note, which is that open tracing and open census merged into open telemetry. So the Kubernetes project, at least right now, is using open telemetry.
Mm-hmm.
And the open telemetry OTLP format.
We have 1 minute left. Anything that we want to share during this final 60-second countdown?
Don't be shy. If you want mentorship, reach out to me on Slack.
Oh yeah, also feel free to turn on your cameras. Normally SIG Instrumentation meetings are all camera on. Like, I mean, don't feel pressured, but if you want to turn on your camera, say hi. Hello. So good to see your faces. Oh, this is great.
Hello.
Hey, Meng Xiao, long time no see.
Oh, hi, Lena. Nice
That's
to meet you
awesome.
too.
Well, I think we're technically at time, but this is a great way to end the meeting. I hope to see you all in either a week at triage or 2 weeks at the next meeting.
Yes, yes. Last time, I meet you in Signote.
Yes.
Yes.
That's right.
Yes. Certainly, I'm interested in SIG instrumentation, and I have submitted some PRs in this group. So I participated in this meeting. Yes.
That's awesome. Well, welcome. We're glad to have you. It's great to see you working on PRs. And yeah, I think it's time for folks to drop. So I'm going to end the meeting, but hope to see you all soon. And it's great to see everyone.
Bye.
Cheers.